live. You see they're dry. You see there's no marrow in the bone. You see they're scattered all over the valley. They ain't even full skeletons. I mean, the bones are scattered all over the valley. They're just bones. But answer me a question, Ezekiel. Can these bones live? Ezekiel answers the only way he knows how to answer. Lord, you know. Critical race theory was born out of critical legal theory. Am I teaching y'all something today? There emerged two common beliefs linking all critical race theories. First, white supremacy has subordinated black people and other people of color. That's just a fact. How in the world are you going to fight against that being taught in any school? White supremacy has subordinated black people and other people of color. That's a fact. Why don't you want that to be taught in school? You let your schools teach us that Columbus discovered America. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that George Washington couldn't tell a lie. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that some slave owners were beneficent and good slave owners. There were no good slave owners. Anybody who owned people was evil. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that Abraham Lincoln was good for Negroes. No, Abraham Lincoln was trying to save the Union. And Abe Lincoln himself said if he could save the Union and keep black people in chains, he would do it. That's a lie. Come on, somebody. You let them teach us about a white Jesus. You let them teach us that Native Americans were the aggressors. Come on, somebody. That white folk had a manifest destiny and that the pilgrims were good to Native Americans. That's a lie. All day, every day, you let them teach us lies. All throughout my history in school, I was taught lies. But you got a problem with critical race theory because it teaches the truth that white supremacy has subordinated black people and people of color. The right to bear arms. Let me just back up a little bit and let me take you on back to the late 1960s when Ronald Reagan was the governor of California. And they were oppressing black folk, and a group of men and women known as the Black Panther Party decided that they were going to defend the rights of black folk. And the Black Panthers decided that the Second Amendment wasn't just for white folk. So they strapped themselves with guns and showed up at the Capitol in California. And when they saw them Negroes with guns, come on, somebody. That's why I say if you ever really want to get gun laws changed, just strap all these Negroes up. They'll change them laws before the week is over. When the Black Panthers, watch this, I want you to read, the California legislator passed what was called the Mulford Act. It was a gun control act that decided who could get guns, who couldn't get guns, what could be in your background, what couldn't be in your background. It was the first time in history that the National Rifle Association, the NRA, supported restrictive gun legislation, all because black folk had the nerve to get strapped. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, go get strapped. Amen, somebody. Y'all gonna say Bishop told us to get strapped. I said it. Go get strapped. It just got real quiet up in here. But y'all already know I'm a triple P. Amen. Y'all know what a triple P is, right? A pistol packing preacher. Amen, somebody.
Lodabar. Your work's not done just because you made it to the palace. Oh, bless the name of the Lord. But you've got a responsibility to help somebody else make it across. Thank you, Jesus. Don't pull up the ladder because you climbed to the top. Don't blow up the bridge because you made your way across. Thank you, Jesus. But reach your hand back down the ladder and pull somebody else up out of Lodabar. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus.
What's good? Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Let's get it.
That's the name of the Lord. Somebody got to tell themselves it's all right if you got it now.
Like, share,
Hold it
subscribe.
for me. I'll be there to get it after a while.
All that good stuff.
Oh, bless the name of the Lord. Thank you, Jesus. You got to make up in your mind that
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
it is for me.
Good
I
morning.
have it right now. May not get it next week.
Let me share this
You
a few
might try to
spaces.
stop me from getting it, but if God said it's mine, I want you to know after a while, I'm going to get what belongs to me. Sometimes God got to strip what you got so you don't depend on yourself. He got to take away from you so you understand how to depend on El Shaddai. Come on in here. Thank you, Jesus. Our young people are dying.
Cracked out.
Cracked out. Suicide. Homicide. They'll kill you at the drop of a dime.
Gotta get these windows up, y'all. It's hot.
Our jails are full. Yet the crime still runs rampant.
Like Karen Hunter says, this is the hottest show in the galaxy. And it's hot in the room. Let's get it. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, tell somebody. Bishop is on the air. Rep your city, rep your town. Good morning, family.
Thank you, Jesus.
Good morning. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
You better think that the Bible said, as a man think. The reason we hate is because what we think we are.
90.7 WTCC. Good morning and welcome to the Spoken Word. I'm your host, Bishop Talbert Swan II. And as usual, we'll be telling it like it is through cultural idioms and nuances that shape the order, ethos, and chaos of the African-American experience. Words have their own vitality. They shape their own consciousness and create their own context for interpreting social and spiritual reality. The spoken word contains the power to reshape the landscape of society. It is 4 minutes past the hour
of 9 a.m. And I want to thank Mr. Kenneth Barnett for bringing us up into the 9 o'clock hour with The Promise. You can hear The Promise every Monday morning from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., bringing you the best in gospel music. Good way to start out your Monday morning. Great way to start out your week. Continuing on our conversations for what's been happening around the world. We were talking about on the Black Love Experience on Friday about the right to defend ourselves. They were so shocked by what happened in Alabama, that they have stripped Black people of basic human rights that everyone else seems to have. And I talked about that, and talking about the slavery remix today. It's always insulting when people want to urinate on you and tell you that it's raining, as if you don't know the substance that's, being splashed on you. And that's basically what white America is doing to us. They want to tell us that slavery was a vocational training program, yet none of them signed up for it. They didn't enroll their kids in it. But that's what they want us to believe, and they're really going forward with this. They really are putting out curriculum. They're accepting curriculum from the Prager University, which is not really a university; it's a right-wing racist organization. With cartoons talking about you'd rather be a slave than die, right? And saying don't judge something that was widely accepted. So we shouldn't judge anything that white supremacists accept as normal. So dehumanizing and brutalizing, raping and murdering and subjugating Black people because that was widely accepted by white supremacy. That means we shouldn't judge it as evil. I mean, just the illogical way that they try to explain away this stuff is so pathetic that we have some white folks in these yet to be United States of America that can't just say, you know what our ancestors did was evil. Just admit it. All these years later, you want to tell us to forget about it, but then at the same time, you want to try to remix it and manipulate gullible people into thinking it was something that it wasn't. We're not stupid. 413-736-2781. 413-736-2781. Do me a favor, rep your city, rep your town. Let me know what part of the world you are chiming in from. Love to know exactly where you are. I want to know where you are. Jacksonville, Florida is in the house. Houston, and Mo Houston is in the house. As always, Grand Rapids, the field is in the house. Chicago is in the house. Let me check out. Let me see who is on the gram. Who's in the house on the gram? Where y'all at, Graham? Rhode Island is in the house. The whole state. They're representing the whole state. You're right. Gaslighting at its best. Rep your city, rep your town. Oh, that's my son from Rhode Island. Good morning, son. Let me see. Indiana is in the house. Springfield, Mass in the building. My daughter's on here too. Okay, all right. I got my son and my dog. I got the Swans on the gram. Good morning to everybody who's on here. Tell a friend. Bishop is on the air right now. Let's get it crunk, okay? We're going to talk about this. The slavery remix. The slavery remix, okay? New York. My other daughter is on Facebook. Got a couple of my kids on the gram. I got a daughter on Facebook. Greenville, South Carolina is in the house. Toronto, Canada is in the house. Johannesburg, South Africa is in the building. Good morning to each at Charlottesville by way of Springfield, Jonesboro, Arkansas, Suffolk, Virginia is in the building. Good morning, Raleigh, North Carolina, checking in. New Jersey is in the house. All right, do me a favor, like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. Coming right back up after this short break. Can't stop, don't stop, won't stop, don't go nowhere. We'll be right back.
Of life is grow, but the essence of growth is change. The being in the road will be the end of the road if you refuse to change.
Reach a little higher, reach a little higher, dig a little deeper, dig a little deeper, go a little further, go a little further. Come on, come on, come on. Reach a little higher, come on, yeah. Dig a little deeper, dig a little deeper, go a little further, go a little further.
All right, rep your city, rep your town, y'all. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Where y'all at? YouTube. I see you, Facebook. I see you, Graham. I see you, Twitter. Where you at? Where's my YouTube church? I see Greenville on YouTube. I see Raleigh on YouTube. I see San Francisco on YouTube. Houston is on YouTube. All right, YouTube is in the building. Let's get it.
So break the cycle that doing enough is simply good enough. You only get out what you put in, so don't settle for the crumbs and you can have a whole lot. So push yourself beyond your limitations. Come on. Reach a little higher. Reach a little higher. Dig a little deeper. Dig a little deeper. Go a little further. Don't stop. Don't stop. Come on. Don't reach a little higher. Reach a little higher. Dig a little deeper. Dig a little deeper. Go a little further. Go a little further. Don't stop. Don't stop. Don't stop. Don't stop. So you got to break the routine of trying to beat the system. Manipulators will always try to bypass the process for the quick progress. There are no shortcuts to success. There are no elevators to the top. You got to take it one step at a time. You got to break the routine of allowing others to get into your head and control who you are and where you're going. You see, when you're about the positive, you're going to always have haters. But don't let your haters push you down. Let your haters push you forward to the next level. So when people show you who they really are, don't perceive them to be something else that they're not. See, a zebra does not change his stripes. So you got to keep pushing yourself to the next level. Yeah, there you go. Come on. Get a little deeper. Come on. Yeah. Go a little further. Go a little further. Don't stop. Come on. Don't stop. Come on. Yeah. Reach a little higher. Reach a little higher.
Dig a little deeper.
Dig a little deeper.
Go a little further.
Go a little further. Come on. Come on. Come on. You got to understand the greatness is the nature that you were born out of. You'll never discover your greatness without hard work and dedication. Greatness says more about who you are and what you expect for yourself. And greatness will always attract greatness. Show me your friends and I'll show you the future. The future. You just a step away.
I see you, Connecticut.
You're just a step away. You're just a step away. Don't ever give up. Come on. You're just a step away.
Oh.
You're almost.
Oh.
You got to push yourself beyond your limitations. You see, there's no mountain too high.
Keep on moving.
No. You can go where you want to go. It's all in the power of your imagination. If you can see the invisible, you can do the impossible. So stretch yourself. Take yourself to the next level. Come on. Come on.
Come on. Reach a little higher. Dig a little deeper. Go a little further.
Come on. Come on. Come on.
All right, y'all. Come on. Let's get it. Let's get into this conversation.
I look in the mirror and I like what I see. A strong, beautiful black woman staring back at me. One who's seen a lot of pain.
You got a topic regarding Springfield. All right, Selena, what is it?
I've been lied to, cheated on, stolen from, and hit. But it just made me stronger, and I refuse to quit. That's right.
Rock forever. Good morning.
I refuse to stoop to their level. I rose above that nonsense and made a liar of the devil. All right, now. The devil who said I wasn't good enough, cute enough, or worthy of love.
I kicked his butt with divine power from above.
Power that says I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me, and brought me out of darkness so that I could see that I'm smart, I'm beautiful, I'm a child of the King.
Abundant love.
Abundant love for me, he came to bring. Oh yes, when I look in the mirror,
I love what I see.
That strong, beautiful black woman, that woman is me.
Black women shop. Enslaved.
All right, 90.7 WTCC.
To confess you're wrong, say you're
Here we
sorry,
go.
and then stop doing it. Why in the world do they think we're supposed to automatically forgive folk who won't even admit that they've done anything wrong? I'm preaching real good already. And so it's no wonder black
All right, 90.7 WTCC. I was trying to play a little bit of yesterday's message. Let me see if I can get it on the podcast. Let me see.
One's foes will be the members of their own household. Why is this statement controversial? You would think that Jesus came to bring people together, to unite folk. Well, let me suggest to you that he did. However, he understood that people would reject his message of unconditional love. They would reject his message of justice and equality.
So I preached a message yesterday for those of y'all on social called Fear of a Folding Chair. You can get it on podcast, or you can go to our Facebook page, our church's Facebook page, to watch the rebroadcast. I think it's apropos for the time. Playing a little bit of it, then we get into this conversation.
Be a message of division. And that's my first point. Rejection of God's love causes division. Would you tell your neighbor, rejection of God's love causes division? Jesus knew that his message of love, the message of deep and self-sacrificial love, would not be easily accepted. Jesus' absolute love for all would cause families to be torn apart because of the implied freedom that it must necessarily entail. Loving people as God loves us means that I have no warrant to exercise arbitrary and self-serving control over others. As St. Paul reminds us in Galatians 5:1, when we genuinely love Jesus, not only are we set free, but we must give that same freedom to others. This means that the favorite human pastimes of domination and control and coercion and manipulation, those indispensable tools of slavery and dehumanization and oppression in all of their forms, have no place among Christian people. They have no place among the sons and daughters of God, especially just because of the color of someone's skin. And so in order to truly love as God called us to love, you have to let go of all of those indispensable tools of oppression, and folk are not willing to let go of their domination and their control. And so Jesus said, because I told you, you got to love that black man and that black woman and that person who doesn't look like you, talk like you, walk like you, or act like you. It's going to actually cause division. And so it was the rejection of God's love that caused the genocide of indigenous people, the enslavement of African people. It caused white folks from the South
to take up arms against white folk from the north in a bloody war over whether or not they had to love people who were darker hued than they were because they rejected God's love. You see, this love thing is an unconditional thing. That's his name. They're afraid of love, power, and again is why are you afraid? Because we've given you nothing but love. You gave us slavery, and we gave you math and science. You gave us Jim Crow, and we gave you jazz and the blues and the Harlem Renaissance. You tried to starve us to death, and we turned around and invented the refrigerator. Preach, Bishop. You tried to keep us in the dark, but then we invented the filament for the light bulb. You tried to deprive us of knowledge, but we gave the world Bethune-Cookman and St. Augustine and Bishop College. You tried to keep us out of your military, but we gave you the Tuskegee Airmen and the 54th, and died on every field of battle that this country has ever fought. And I hear the Lord saying to us,
I hear you, Selena.
Because the Lord
reach out after this.
Is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked, even mine enemies and my foes, came upon me to eat of my flesh, they stumbled and fell. I hear the Lord saying, fear not, little flock, for it's the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Oh, bless his name. And I hear the word of the Lord saying, hast thou not known? Hast thou not heard that the Lord, the creator of the ends of the earth, he faints not, neither is he weary. There is no searching of his understanding, for he gives power to the weak, and to them that have no might, he increases their strength. Even the youth shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. But they that wait upon the Lord, they shall, oh my God, renew their strength. They shall mount up on wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Bless his name. They're afraid of the chair because the chair sends the message that in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. Bless his name. They're afraid of the chair because the chair reminds us that we have to delight ourselves in the Lord, and he will give us the desires of our heart. They're afraid of the chair because the chair reminds us to fret not yourself because of evildoers, for they will soon be cut down. Bless his name. They're afraid of the chair because the chair, it reminds us that the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not walk. He'll make me to lie down in green pastures. He restored my soul. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy chair, they comfort me. Thou prepares a table before me in the presence of my enemy. And surely, look at somebody and say, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. The chair lets me know that I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. Yeah, yeah. Is there anybody in the building that's ready to take up your chair? Bless his name. To hold it high. Lift every chair and say, till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmony of liberty. I gotta leave you, Springer Hope. I'm out of here. But can I ask you one question? Won't he do it? Won't he do it? Yeah.
90.7 WTCC. Anybody out there can answer that question? Won't he do it? Yes, sir. I believe he will. That is Fear of a Folding Chair. Just some excerpts from yesterday's message. You really need to go check out our podcast and hear that in its entirety. I think it'll bless you for sure. 413-736-2781 is the number here if you want to get in on the conversation. Today we're dealing with this whole slavery remix, and they're really trying to do that, y'all. They're trying to remix slavery into a vocational training program in which they enrolled Africans so that they could bring them to North and South America and throughout the Caribbean, enslave them for perpetuity so that they could gain some useful skills in their lives that they'd never be able to use, even if they did, because they were enslaved. They could only use on behalf of white folks. It's the most asinine thing that you have ever heard, and yet this is what they want to teach in school. The same Florida system that banned kids learning the Ruby Bridges story about a young black girl and what she went through to integrate segregated schools in the South. I want to ban that because that's offensive to white folks. They want to ban Amanda Gorman's poem that she read at Joe Biden's inaugural because that's offensive to one white kid whose parent complained about it. So the entire grade level can't hear that. But they don't give a hamburger about how offensive it is to black people to tell us that our ancestors got useful skills from being enslaved. This guideline for teaching Black history, it doesn't merely consist of the noxious, the specious claim that slaves developed skills that could be applied to their personal benefit. That's the language that could be applied to their. How the hell are you enslaved and you can apply skills to your personal benefit? You couldn't make any money. You didn't have agency over your own body, time. I mean, how was it going to personally benefit you? But this is the language that they use. Not only does it use that specious language, there are about 190 other so-called facts that we know aren't facts that are included in these guidelines that are loathsome and false. And what's telling is how hard other non-melanated people are fighting against those of us that are attacking this outrageous personal benefits claim. Governor Ron DeSantis, yeah, I said DeSantis, who likes to brag about his Stop Woke education bill, first tried to distance himself, presumably because of his presidential bid, because he's running for president. He figures he need a couple Negro votes. But now he's circling the drain because voters are repelled by his culture war. He's going to ask Kamala Harris to come to Florida to debate him over this claim, as if he's got a leg to stand on. But this is the foolery that we're dealing with in 2023. 2023. They tried to use so-called examples. So they came up with 23 so-called examples of how enslaved Africans parlayed their master-taught skills that they got by being enslaved into jobs later in life. Now, let's be clear that most enslaved folks never got a job later in life because they died in slavery. Okay, let's keep it a buck. 1619, 1865, 246 years. If 20 years is one generation, if 20 years is one generation, we've got 12 generations of black people who never made it out of slavery, who died, who spent their entire lives enslaved. So what the hell kind of job did they get that they could apply these skills to when they died on the plantation? Most people who were enslaved died on the plantation. All right? And even the examples that the state tried to use were lies, because the examples they tried to use were of people who were either already free black people or they learned the skills after escaping slavery. Somebody inadvertently always wants to call me while I'm on the radio. Learn the skills after emancipation, or they were already free black people. So they're really reaching. And then you got these crazy folks over at Fox News who have gone crazy over the story and are putting out an all points bulletin to try to back it up. You would think that they would have learned their lesson after trying to cover Donald Trump trying to steal the election and all the election lies and the big lawsuits, the billions of dollars that they lost and all the people they had to fire over all of that stuff. But they're circling the wagons around Ron DeSantis and this claim of slavery as a vocational training program. So you got to think about it. Think about it. People who were snatched from their homeland, snatched from their families, robbed of their freedom, their language, their culture, their God, brought to a strange land in bondage. Many of them didn't make it and wound up as food for the sharks as they dumped their bodies in the Atlantic Ocean during the Middle Passage. You believe what you want. It's said that the hurricanes follow the same route as the slave ships. Starts on the coast of West Africa, comes across the Atlantic Ocean, down through the Caribbean, up through the southern part of the U.S., the same routes that the slave ships took. And some say it's the bodies of our ancestors crying from the ocean bottom. And then once they got dropped off on whatever landmass that would be their final destination, they lived a life of perpetual enslavement, rape, brutalization, dehumanization. Their children, children's children, subsequent generations lived that same brutal life. Families were broken up. They were sold like a horse, a cow, a chicken, treated as property. And someone has the caucasity to tell us that we did this for a couple of things. We did this, one, so we could teach y'all about God. What kind of God were you serving that was okay with you raping and lynching black people on Saturday night and praising him on Sunday morning? I see you, Aunt Marion. Good morning. You wanted to teach us about God, and then you wanted to teach us some vocational skills. Oh, my goodness. Let me get TASDN. You can now speak. I don't know how to pronounce your name, but good morning. All right. Going once. Going twice. All right, I tried to get you in, tried to get him in. Put in your request in the space. Let me get a Mia in here. Mia Hampton. Good morning, sis.
Hey, Big Show, how you doing?
I'm good. You?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. Really good sermon. I think you have hit it on the head again, that this white Christianity faith is very steeped in demonic entities.
Yeah.
White Christianity is whitewash Satanism. Have a good day.
Thank you. I always call white evangelical Christianity is nothing but white supremacy in drag. It's white supremacy wearing a collar. Bottom line, one of the points I made during my sermon yesterday, my second point, was that white Christianity used fear to manipulate. And they continue to do that today, continue to use fear to manipulate. And that's always been the case. The whitenized type of religion that they tried to put on our ancestors to make them docile and passive and better tools of service. One of the reasons why they would bring Nat Turner around from plantation to plantation to preach to his fellow enslaved black people to be good slaves for massa, until he got an epiphany, got a revelation that God did not desire for his people to be enslaved. And then he went on the real God-given mission of fighting against evil, which was their oppressors on the plantations. The cartoon, let me see if I can find that. See if I can find that cartoon, because this is the type of insidious foolery that they're dealing. And see, here's why we've got to be careful, because we look at this as if Florida is just some anomaly and it'll pass. That's what people thought when we had one or two Republican attorney generals that were going after the voting rights. And people thought, yeah, well, there's no way that that's going to gain any traction. And before you knew it, those one or two attorney generals turned into 30 some odd Republican attorney generals across the country, who filed suit that went all the way to the Supreme Court, until the Supreme Court made a ruling that, in essence, made the Voting Rights Act of 1965 unenforceable, which it is to this day. It is unenforceable. It's on the books, but it's unenforceable. In Section 4 of the Voting Rights Act, there was a formula that determined what states, cities, towns, municipalities, counties fell into a category called pre-clearance, which meant they had an egregious record of violating the voting rights of black people. So before they could change laws, before they could change the locations of polling places, before they could make voter ID laws and all these types of things to further suppress the vote, it had to go through pre-clearance with the government. And if it didn't meet their standards, the Department of Justice could nullify what they were doing. That was the enforcement part. Section 5. Section 4 was the formula. The Supreme Court nullified the formula, said it was antiquated, had to come up with another formula. That was 10 years ago. The Voting Rights Act has been unenforceable for 10 years. It started out with just a couple of states. Before you knew it, 30 some odd states went to the Supreme Court, and now the Voting Rights Act, as we knew it, is no more. So we're starting out with Florida doing all this craziness. And if we sleep at the switch, before you know it, it's going to be 30 some odd states across America that are going to be teaching this foolishness in the school system, that are going to be basically erasing the history of black people and remixing the history of white supremacy in America until it's unrecognizable from reality. And then we'll have generations of people who won't even know the true history of America. And you know what they used to tell us when we was kids, that if you don't know your history, you're bound to repeat it. This is dangerous, ladies and gentlemen. We can't push this off as if this is just Florida. No, this is white supremacy. That's why I always say whiteness is an unrelenting demonic force of evil. they will stand the test of time to get done what they want to get done. If it takes them 50 years, Roe v. Wade, they bided their time until they could pack that court. And they're going to methodically come after everything that they can come after, while we're asleep at the switch. We can't sleep on this, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends and enemies. Listen to this. This is a cartoon that's approved to be used in the Florida system. Listen to this foolishness.
All this time, and it's taken place in every corner of the world, even amongst the people I just left. Being taken as a slave is better than being killed, no? Before you judge, you must ask yourself, what did the culture and society of the time treat as no big deal?
Let's hear that one more time.
Slavery is as old as time, and it's taken place in every corner of the world, even amongst the people I just left. Being taken as a slave is better than being killed, no? Before you judge, you must ask yourself, what did the culture and society of the time treat as no big deal? Slavery is as old as time.
Did you get that? Slavery is old as time. It happened everywhere. You know, you got to ask yourself before you judge white supremacy and enslavement, dehumanization of black people, you ask, what did the culture of the time treat as no big deal? That's the standard now? So if white supremacists saw mistreating black people as no big deal, that should be acceptable and not judged? Really? Seriously? That's the standard? So there was a time in America where beating your wife and subjugating women in a male-dominated patriarchal society was treated as no big deal. So if someone beats the snot out of his wife or domestic partner, we shouldn't frown upon that, right? Do you hear how ridiculous that sounds? This cartoon is approved for the children in Florida. So you will have children who turn into teenagers, who turn into adults, who will then say to their children, slavery was no big deal. It was accepted at the time, and nobody should judge any of our ancestors for the inhumanity that they exacted upon other human beings, because we white folks saw it as no big deal. Tracy Porter, holler at me. 413-736-2781 is the number. You want to chime in on the conversation. Tracy, you got the microphone. Tracy going once.
Oh, I got it. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Good morning, Bishop. I'm so blessed to have found you, and I'm really enjoying what you're talking about, because especially the differences with white Christianity and the true Christianity, because like you said, white supremacy is insidious, and the fact that they're trying to teach, they always screaming about indoctrination, about teaching the truth, but yet they have been indoctrinating us for centuries. Mm-hmm. Like you said, about American history, about Lincoln being the great emancipator, and all this is so not true.
Yeah, Lerone Bennett Jr. wrote a book called Forced into Glory, talking about Lincoln, and how he just came along at a time when the Civil War came, and Lincoln's whole premise was to save the Union. He didn't give a hamburger about black people. Matter of fact, he said if he could save the Union and keep black people in bondage, he would do it.
That part.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm from California, so when you talk about, I love what you talk about the Black Panther Party, and people, I love the fact that people always tend to leave out the Black Panther Party for self-defense,
Mm-hmm.
because that's who they were.
Yeah.
They, and like you said, if we all black folks started strapping, these gun laws would change in a hot second.
There you go. There you go. Matter of fact, the first time the NRA ever supported a restrictive piece of gun legislation was in response to the Black Panther Party.
And like you said, whenever the NRA, with their races, behind, with the stand your ground, how is it that whenever a black person is up for trial for a stand your ground, you hear nothing, you hear crickets? They are not there defending black people when they come for, when it's a stand your ground law violation, law or trial, we go to jail.
And not only that, whenever a police officer kills a black person that was licensed to carry, like when they killed Philando Castile, the NRA was, you could hear a rat pee on cotton. They were so silent.
Okay, that part. So thank you for being here. I'm still trying to find out how I found you, but I've been following you now for about a year, and this is my first time actually being able to be on your program, and I thank and praise God for you, and keep up what you're doing, my brother. You are truly doing God's work.
Appreciate you, sis. Take care.
Bye.
Let me get my man Untouchable Jay. Jay, you in the space.
Good morning, bro.
Good morning.
So, this topic is kind of crazy, right? So,
I think I lost you. Hit me back up, Jay. I don't know what happened, but we get you back in. Let me get ODB in here in the meantime. ODB, you got the microphone.
Sir, how you doing, Bishop?
I'm taking it a day at a time. Good morning.
Good morning, man. So, so first off, when you hear that kind of rhetoric, it's really crazy to me. It just seems like whatever which way these people can end up going and deeming themselves unaccountable, they're going to go ahead and do it. So when we break down history, because I'm not a big component for history in schools, period, it's not being taught the right way at all,
Right.
Yeah, so if we have saying that Lincoln is our savior and things like that in schools, I'm definitely not even for it. But for them to try to switch the whole slavery narrative, and then to just always say like, "Oh, slavery this." Well, let's address the harms. Since slavery happened, so that's an economic harm. We could go to that. But let's address the other economic harms. Let's talk about the Homestead Act. Let's talk about all these economic factors that you guys use as tools to make sure that black people didn't get ahead. And then you also put other immigrant groups here above us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because white people love to say, my family immigrated from Ellis Island, so we don't need to pay you reparations. Well, let's talk about the Homestead Act, where your family as immigrants generationally got put ahead of black Americans. You know what I mean? Let's also talk about
they don't want to deal with that.
Like to talk about that were enslaved, that you say they were indentured servants or whatever, and they just do. Let's talk about during right before the Civil War, the ones that did their indentured servitude, warred in black towns and killed black people in the net, or trying not to go to the Civil War. That's in the North and in the South alike. Mostly in the North, in the Unions, you see these uprisings of Irish towns killing the black freed people and the black slaves, because they did not want to go to war with the South. You know what I mean? So if we're going to tell history, let's tell it all the way. Let's not half step in the history, or let's not have it at all for the interpretation of white people to misconstrue it and construe and indoctrinate our kids. You know what I mean? Right. I think that's just as much problem as the LG, whatever, however many people are in their alphabet department trying to indoctrinate our kids, as well as these white, whatever you want to call them, conservatives trying to push this. Like if y'all paying attention like me, we can kind of see that how white people are trying to play on Black Americans' conservative values at this point in the country, and saying like, you guys have these conservative values and we have these conservative values, we should link up. But how can we link up with you guys when the grounds of mutual respect is not even there?
There you go.
You know, so
there you go. There you go. And that's such a great point, because, you know, and you're right, Black people do have conservative values, especially Black religious people. But we cannot be linking arms with conservative bigots simply because we have one or two points of agreement with them when they don't even accept our full humanity.
No, that's a fact, and we're tired of the same thing from the Democratic Party. I got two things I want to shout out. I'm over here in Houston. We have a brother, Dr. James. He's running. If you, I got in contact with him last time on Twitter Space, but he's running nonpartisan for Houston City Council. So if you see him on Twitter Spaces, because we all kind of exist in the same area, see where he needs some assistance. And then also, we started a Black-owned crypto. It's called Be Jesus. You know, we're locked out a lot of different times in the religious community where they push their ideologies, and also in the crypto space, they leave us out. So we wanted to make something bold and Black, where we attack Milo hierarchies of needs, the bottom level of it, of food, shelter, clothing, and make sure that those get addressed, and also issues in the Black community. So if you see Dr. James, and if you see us in the Orchid Take and in the Be Jesus community in Twitter, you know, give us a ring, or if you hear us in the radio, you know, give us a shout. So I appreciate you, Bishop.
All right.
You know what I mean? I'm always keeping these topics at the forefront too, as well.
All right. Appreciate you, bro. Let me see if I got Jay back in here. I don't see Jay back in here. M1, you got the mic, man. 413-736-2781. For those of you who want to jump on the telephone line, M1, trying to get you in, bro. Going once. All right, he's having some trouble connecting, so let me get Maine. Maine, you got the mic, Maine. All right, Maine is trying to connect. All right, well, in the meantime, let's see where else we can go. All right, M1 couldn't get on. I tried to get you on, Maine. All right, y'all put your request back in, and we'll pull you up as soon as we can. 413-736-2781. Listen, those of you in the Pioneer Valley, keep these dates in mind. October 19th, NAACP Freedom Fund at the Ludlow Country Club. You can go to NAACP Springfield Facebook page and get the information on that. Coming up in September, 1st and 2nd, we'll be in our Holy Convocation in Brattleboro, Vermont. September 5th through the 8th, our annual fellowship conference will take place at Spring of Hope Church here in Springfield. Some great preachers in our Holy Convocation. We've got Pastor Mark Bayman, and we'll be dedicating our Brattleboro location on that Friday night. And then we've got Administrative Assistant Willie Moy, who'll be preaching that Saturday afternoon at 12. Then we move to our fellowship conference here in Springfield. Pastor Dahige Wright from St. John's will be our preacher on that Tuesday. The Bishop Andrew Dobbin will be preaching for us on that Wednesday. Our jurisdictional supervisor, Mother Valerie Fields, will be preaching for us on that Thursday, and I'll be preaching on that Friday, the 8th. And then our annual Hope Festival will take place on the grounds of Spring of Hope on Saturday, the 9th of September. So a lot of good things happening in our space. So if you're in the 413 or surrounding area, definitely shout us out and come on and be a part of what we got going in those spaces. All right. I'll be back on Friday. Friday is the Black Love Experience right here at 9 o'clock a.m. 9 o'clock a.m. We'll be back on with the Black Love Experience, and definitely want you to be a part of that. We'll continue our conversation as we always do, kind of go from one space into the next space, continuing on our conversation. So stay tuned. We'll continue this because this isn't going anywhere, brothers and sisters. This is not one of those 48-hour news cycle topics. Now, it might be hot and in the press for 48 hours, but it definitely is going beyond that, because this is one of those long-term situations that you need to be aware of. Because if you sleep on this, I'm telling you, you're going to look up and there's going to be 40 states that are teaching this nonsense. And they're going to be erasing you from the history books and remixing the history of brutalization and white supremacy from the curriculum altogether. So we got to be careful. If you're looking for a place to worship, and you're in the 413, check us out at the Spring of Hope Church of God in Christ. We are at 35 Alden Street, the big brick church, right there at Six Corners. Every